What's up guys, today we have part 2 of the base model winter build video series, so we'll get right into it. As you can see, the car has already been sanded at this point, and along with sanding we have to get the car bare. So that means taking the door handles off, taking the wing off, taking the headlights off, taillights, radio antenna, basically anything that can come off has to come off before it rolls into the booth, and then anything that cannot come off just ends up getting masked, such as windows, wheels, stuff like that. So of course, because I'm getting the car repainted, I also have to fix the body damage that's on there, which the car had quite a bit due to me having it as a daily and also doing some stuff that I was unaware would cause body damage. So a big focus was repairing the rear quarter panels. Obviously this isn't going to be like a full repair that a body shop would do, but it's going to be the best that I can do personally. So that included cutting the rear quarters out wherever the rust was, or grinding it down to bare metal, and then using this Bondo with fiberglass that you see Adrian here spreading. Luckily Adrian is a Bondo master, he knows his way around with a Bondo spreader, so those skills certainly came in handy here. He did actually all of the Bondo work on my car, and I'm grateful for that because the car came out looking really good, and I don't know, it probably would not have looked good if I was spreading the Bondo. So along with that, this Bondo that he's spreading right now is Bondo with fiberglass, and that's because here I grinded the quarter panels down to bare metal. So some parts were still there and some parts were not there, so there was holes. So the Bondo with fiberglass is basically, it's body filler, kind of like spackle for drywall, and it has fiberglass in it, so it kind of helps provide structure and fill the hole in instead of just body filler, which if you hit it the wrong way or something happens, a rock hits it, it might just kind of go through. Here this is just plain old body filler on the doors, and that's just to fill in low spots. In this case the doors were dented, so we just had to use body filler on the parts that were dented and then sand it flat. So while the car is being painted, I took advantage of getting myself some race louvers from racelouver.com. So this is a company that makes hood vents. The point of these is to extract heat from your engine bay, and you can get some cheap ones off Amazon, but I don't think they really work, considering they don't really have any data to support that. These have data to support, and you can even tell just based on the design that as you're driving, you can see the way that the vents are arranged, it pulls air in to the engine bay, and then also kind of creates flow to pull air out. I don't know the exact physics behind it, but the way that these are designed versus the way that some on eBay or Amazon are designed, you can tell the difference. And even the price kind of says something. These were about $300. The ones on Amazon are probably like 20 bucks and way smaller. So I had a carbon fiber hood before. I got lucky and found a white hood at the junkyard that didn't really need any body work at all. Surprisingly, it wasn't rusted, didn't have any dents, nothing like that. So I picked that up for about $40 from a pick and pull, and this is going to be what I use as my new hood, getting rid of the carbon fiber hood because it wasn't really benefiting me in the track. So this is probably the most nerve-wracking part of the whole body work on the car. This along with cutting in hood latches, because obviously I only have one hood, and once you start cutting you can't go back, so you have to make sure that the cuts are precise, and of course you want to make sure that everything is even, symmetrical, so it doesn't look off. So we took our time measuring and creating like a template on the hood to make sure everything was evenly spaced, and luckily it came out great. But like I said, it was really nerve-wracking, and I even overcut in some places, but luckily the hood vents were big enough to cover those holes up. So in order to get the hood vents centered, you obviously have to use a reference point on the hood. So some people have to create their own reference points by measuring the exact center of the hood and working based on that. In our case, in most hoods cases actually there's wiper nozzles from the factory, so we know that the wiper nozzles are centered, and because they're made by a robot you know that they're accurate. So along with that, there's body lines that run along the side of the hood, so using those and the wiper nozzles, we kind of created 2 reference points there and measured each hood vent based off of that, you know, relative to the position of those, and that's how we made sure that the hood vents were centered and not offset. And we also made sure that they were an equal distance from each other as well, and they came out great. Very happy with them, but you know, I won't show them until the car is completed. I had to do some trimming on the underside of the hood and take off some of the hood bracing in order to create room for the vents on the underside of the hood and room for the hardware so I can access the bolts and the nuts. And then of course I have to test fit the vents when I'm done and make sure that they fit. Here they kind of fit mostly, but you know, I needed to sand the edges down of the holes to make sure they fit in smoothly, and also to not scratch my hands up as I work around in there. And the final part of the video, just cleaning the car. This is half the reason I took the engine out. As I mentioned in my last video, I kept tearing axle boots, and this resulted in getting a lot of grease in my engine bay, my subframe, just having grease flung everywhere, and I mean everywhere. I actually ended up having to drop the subframe because I stripped a bolt in there, but that's another story. But because I dropped the subframe, I was able to deep clean it even more because I spent a lot of time here pressure washing the engine bay and the subframe, and I thought I got all the grease out, but it turned out I did not. And there was just so much grease. It was to the point where anytime I worked on my car, if I stuck my hands in the engine bay or under the car, they just came out and they had grease on them, and it was really frustrating and really hard to clean afterwards as well. So that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and stay tuned for part 3 of the winter build video, where the car will be put back together, gone off to paint, and be fully assembled with the new color and hopefully the new wheels if I get to powder coat them in time. See you in the next one.